Hi, guys, and welcome to Wizard World Virtual Experiences. I'm Meg Bonney, co-founder of PureFandom.com, and I'll be moderating today's super duper supernatural panel. We are so excited to have these celebrities here with us today, and we're so thankful to have all of you at home watching from all over the world. I know that we have some watching from Montreal, Wisconsin, shout out Wisconsin, Minnesota, Florida, Oregon, the Netherlands, Finland, Scotland, Italy, Luxembourg. Very exciting. And a few things before we bring out our amazing guests. We are streaming to you live on Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, bringing you that Comic-Con life to the comfort of your home with these free celebrity panels, in addition to paid exclusive experiences, including one-on-one private video chats, custom recorded messages, and autographs. Amazing. Those are always on sale at wizardworldvirtual.com and will continue to be so throughout the week, even if you're watching this on replay. So if you're able, definitely check that out. They're once in a lifetime experiences with your favorite cast members, and we all need some good right now, right? Also, don't forget to check out the past signed memorabilia and amazing works of art from your favorite artists and vendors at wizardworldvault.com. And that is Wizard World's virtual convention floor, right in the comfort of your home. You can also check Facebook and wizardworldvirtual.com for updates on future panels. Later today, we're going to be hosting a Riverdale virtual experience with yours truly as the moderator. And there's just going to be a lot of fun stuff coming up after the holiday. So make sure you stay tuned to that. We'll also be asking your questions throughout the panel. So drop those questions in the chat on whichever platform you're streaming on. And I know you love looking at my beautiful face, but let's bring out some awesome, amazing celebrities from your favorite show, Supernatural. Give a heart, a smile, thumbs up, one of these for your favorite character as we bring them in. First up, she plays a hunter and definite Sam girl, Eileen Leahy, Shoshana Stern.
Hey.
Shoshana. Okay, and next we have the man of many supernatural faces, Chad Rook. Hi, Chad. And finally, the angel that left that pesky snake in the garden, Timo Pennicott.
What's up, guys?
Hi.
How you doing?
Great to have everyone. So first I have to ask, how's everyone doing?
I'm very, very good. Thank you. This is my first virtual con, so it's really cool to see that there's so many people from all over the place tuning in.
I'm well. I'm excited to be here. Do this con with WizardCon. These are really turning out to be a lot of fun. This is my second one in the last couple months, and yeah, they're better than I thought they would be, and I think the fans are really appreciating them. So I'm happy that I can do this.
And we're very happy to have you. And I also want to introduce Carrie, who's our interpreter for Shoshana Stern.
Yay.
Shoshana, how are you?
I'm doing good. Yeah, this is my first virtual con as well. And I think it's really cool how many opportunities this really is giving us, to be able to connect. Even though we're supposed to be more, isolated. I've still never felt more connected than I have before. And so it's in really interesting ways we're connecting. So I think this is definitely a time where, I'm going through transformation. I'm learning a lot about myself and then also the world. It's been surprisingly good.
Oh, that's awesome. Has anyone picked up any new hobbies or talents? Does anyone have like a bread situation going on at home?
Chad, you making bread?
No, I'm not making bread, man. I'm actually burning bread. I find it's weird, man. It's like the more I cook, the worse I get. I don't get what's going on. It's weird.
I'm a chicken farmer now. I've been sharing that with everyone. Now I'm officially a chicken farmer. I'm the artist formerly known as. Now I'm a chicken farmer. That's my focus each day.
That's awesome.
Yes.
That's awesome. That's cool.
Great. Well, let's just dive right into questions. We have, like I said, amazing fans from all over the world watching. One question that I think everyone wants to know, what is it like to jump into a show and basically a fandom that's been around for 15 years when some of these fans are like 14, 15 years old and it's been on their whole lives? What has that been like to join that fandom?
I mean, for me personally, it was I'd met both Jared and Jensen in the past. Jared I met a few times because Jared's a big fight fan. So my best bud and I, Alex Ponovic, would see him. We'd watch the UFC together. We'd see him at different bars in town, and we met through mutual friends. And Alex has worked on the show a couple times. I didn't come in till season 9, but I was obviously familiar with Supernatural because it started when me and my Battlestar gang started. I think it was right around the same year. So we were always familiar with the show, and we'd see them at, press things down south. And but I didn't have an opportunity to really connect with the guys. But after I did my one season with the boys, I ended up traveling with them for almost 2 years all over the world doing conventions, and they've become brothers since. So anybody who knows them well, it's a real it's a family dynamic. The two of them are just incredibly gracious, and once you go in and work with them, you're part of the family.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's great.
I had a kind of similar thing. I kind of knew of the show. I knew of the actors. I was running into a lot of people that were always on the show. I actually auditioned for about 6 seasons before I got on. Those bastards. It took me a long time. But and just the relationship with the cast and with the crew and everyone just kind of grew with the characters. So I started. For those of you know, I played 3 different characters in 3 different seasons.
Awesome.
And thank God they got bigger, not smaller. And just the more and more I was on the show, the characters grew, and so did my relationship with people like Jared and all them, and Jensen and obviously the crew like Jim Michaels, all those guys. And it's seriously a family type show, and it's really cool to be part of.
Yeah, that's awesome. And Shoshana, how was it for you to join such an active fandom already in progress?
I mean, I kind of didn't know what I was getting into, which is a good idea. It is a good idea. And I had auditioned for the role of Ruby a few seasons ago, and I am a fan of the show. I liked watching it, and I thought that Ruby was a great character. But then I thought, if she had, how would Ruby become a deaf character? It wouldn't have worked because it would have been a demon in the body. And so then would the demon have been deaf or the person been deaf? And so I like to write and I like to cast. And so I thought that it was a great show. And not until season 11, they had reached out to me saying, do you want to play a hunter on the show? And I was like, yeah, sure. But I still had no idea what I was getting myself into. And then I thought, then they told me the hunter was going to be deaf, and they said it was going to be a love interest for Sam. And I was like, oh, that's great. Everybody's going to hate me when I come on. So, I really got a warm welcome from fandom, which was really nice, especially for, a love interest. Sometimes that can be tough as a new character. I was on Weeds before, and all of the girls wanted to kill me on that show. So, it's hard to be a female actress who is the new love interest. But the thing about my character was she was a hunter first. And being deaf really made her a better hunter. It wasn't like she had to overcome being deaf or anything like that. And so I was really excited to have that character, and I was excited to play her. And when I got on set, like everyone is saying, it was so welcoming. Sometimes it's tough to work on the same show for so long and have so many people coming in and out. And that's what it wasn't like there. I mean, it was like being part of a family. I was so welcome. The crew, the cast, a lot of them learned how to sign. And that was crazy because even a lot of families that have deaf children, they don't learn to sign for their kids. And so that little thing that they welcomed me into, I thought, wow, this show is so special. And it really holds a special place in my heart. To be able to come back for the final season is something that I didn't even expect at all. And, I cried when I left. Yeah.
Oh, that's
I
awesome.
will,
And
I will say what's funny about the supernatural fandom though is that they really take those characters to heart. Unfortunately, I play a villain in all 3 seasons. So when I would go to some of these cons and meet the fans, I didn't really get a warm reception. They were just like, "How dare you do this to Jensen? How dare you do this?" I was like, "Chill out, just the character, relax." But it was love, but it was just in a different way, with knives and daggers being thrown at me. It was pretty fun.
because you're so convincing, you're such a good actor.
Thank
Just
you.
comes on through, yeah.
Right.
So the next question that I have, the fans wanted to know for Tama, what is it like you're playing a role with someone else? What is the prep work like, and how easy that was to, as a viewer, to see that transition between the two actors? It felt like the same character, and nothing about that character seemed to change. What is the prep work like when you are portraying the same character like that?
Yeah, well, I've told the story a few times, but I came in thinking that I was going to be the first one playing Ezekiel, who ends up being Gadriel. So I made specific choices. I wasn't given any direction otherwise, and I came in with these choices, physical choices, even the cadence, the way that this angel spoke, and then I think it was the second or the first day that I was filming. The director on that episode asked me right before we were about to shoot a pivotal scene, an important scene with Jensen, "Hey, would you like to see what Jared's done?" And I said, what do you mean what he's done with what? And he goes, "Well, with playing Ezekiel." And I go, "I'm sorry, I thought I was going first. Isn't he playing him after me?" And he goes, No, we already got a key scene with Jared doing it. And I'm like, "So you ask me if I want to see what the lead character's done with a character that I'm supposed to be imitating now, whereas before it was me going to be playing him first." I'm like, "Yeah, that's probably important. We should probably check that out. Thank you so much for the gracious 4 minutes and 32 seconds. I appreciate that." So I had maybe a minute to see what Jared had done, and again, he luckily was doing. He made a lot of choices that were very much in line with the choices that I had made. He was being there was a certain physicality to him. It was almost superhuman. It was slightly exaggerated, but yet it was almost like he was moving almost like a ballerina. It was very specific. He's moving very purposely and in a very different way than his character does, and it worked. And I took some of that and added to the choices that I already made, and it just worked. The fans seemed to be okay with it. They didn't find any big discrepancies. They weren't upset. They loved it, if anything. So at the end of the day, I think we got our job done.
Oh yeah, definitely one of the best angel portrayals, because they all seem to be, a word that I shouldn't say, and I won't make Carrie sign it. So so we have a question from a fan, Maddie_026 wants to know, and this is a question for everyone. What was the best part about playing your character, and what was your favorite characteristic of your character? Should we start with Chad? You can pick which one. I know you have multiple choices here.
Well, I mean, anytime you play a character that has superpowers of some sort is just always fun, right? Like, and I think one of the coolest aspects is the special effects on this show. A lot of times as actors, we see everything that happens on set, and so when we watch it on TV and it's released, it's not really a shock value or surprise. Yet with Supernatural, they have so much special effects and green screens and all that kind of stuff for some scenes. So it's a lot of fun when you film something, and then when it's released, it's that excitement. You have that excitement that the fans do because you really haven't seen what it's going to look like yet. And when they do it well on this show, and it's really cool to have special effects, playing it on set, but then seeing what they do with it is I don't know, makes you feel badass, right?
Oh, that's awesome. Shoshana, what about you? What was the favorite characteristic of Eileen, or just being a hunter in general?
Really, I loved how physical she was, all the fights that she did. And again, it wasn't something that I often do as an actress, especially as a deaf person and being a woman. Most of the time, most of the time, a woman is a victim. They're not very kick-ass. And so to be able to be challenged in that way, like all the fight stuff that we had to do, killing the banshees, beating up the ghosts, killing the werewolves, I really enjoyed that. And it was a really great challenge, and I really wanted to do more. And we had an amazing stunt coordinator, Rob. He is one of the best I've ever seen. He is like an artist, and not like 1, 2, 3, 4. He was an artist. He really made everything into a story. And like, I already use my body to communicate, and I already use my body to tell stories. And so this was another way to make stuff so visually appealing. And fighting really communicates a lot about a character. And so I really connected with Rob a lot. I was like, can I kick them, please? Can I kick them? And he's like, no, we don't do a lot of kicking on this show. And I was like, can I kick them? So eventually I did get to kick somebody. And so, it just made me understand Eileen better. She had to use every part of her body because she couldn't hear. And so it really made her do a lot of different things. I loved it. I loved every part about her and every part about fighting. It was amazing. It was something that I had never seen before. Yeah, it was amazing to do. Yeah,
That's great. And last but not least, did you have a favorite characteristic of playing your character? I know you kind of had two different vibes: the good guy pretending to be good, and then
there was
angel.
I think the fans appreciate it, and I appreciate it as an actor. I'd never played an angel before. I think one of the things that was a choice that I made, and they very much wrote for also, was the fact that he's, this is an angel who's been in prison for thousands of years. So he's pop culture, a lot of the social norms, things like this, they're right over his head. He's not aware of them. And I know they really explored that with Cass for years. So it was a missed opportunity, but just the few scenes that Gadriel and Cass had were like, they were comedy gold, man. When there's references made to Star Wars or something like that, Gadriel had no idea what was going on or what was being spoken about. Yeah, there were some comedic aspects there that I really appreciated, and the fact that he was so out of his element. And then ultimately that comedy ended up turning into somewhat of a tragedy and getting quite sad, because he was so out of his element for so long, just trying to be the soldier that he is, a soldier of God. And he, in the end, he ended up choosing the only way he knew how to make amends, because he never quite fit in this new world.
Yes, and definitely the angels fish out of water comedy vibe. One of the best things about this show, and it's always fun to see how that played throughout the seasons. We have another fan question. This is for everyone. This is from Kayla1123, and she wants to know, if you could have your character cross over with another show, which show would you pick and why? And then maybe what character would you have them interact with? I'm going to start with you, Chad.
Ah, damn it. I thought you were going to give me some time to think about that one.
Anyone can jump in, whoever's ready.
You know what? Zachariah was just a cool, badass, military soldier who, luckily, even though it was like kind of the second coming of that character because he was portrayed before, they kind of gave me a clean slate with him and stuff. So, he was just this really cool, calm and collected soldier who just had a mission. So if I could put him on a different show, I would love to put him on something where he just totally doesn't belong and just raises a bunch of hell. Like, toss him in Riverdale. Just go, screw up some crap for some of those guys who just, have nothing but love affairs going on.
Well, he might even blend in Riverdale, given what everything going on in that show. But yeah, that would be awesome. Shoshana, do you have a show that you would want to see Eileen jump into?
I have never thought about that before. I love thinking about things like that, and I honestly haven't thought about it before. So that's a good question. I think maybe The Walking Dead. Because there's a deaf character on that show as well who is a lot like Eileen. They're pretty similar. So it'd be cool to see two deaf women kicking zombies' ass together.
Yeah, let's sell that. Can we write that script, someone out there on Twitter?
Yeah, I like it.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, and that is a fantastic question. That's one of those ones you're like, oh, wow, I'd like a little time to think about that. I think if Gadriel went to another show that I'd done, maybe it would have been Joss Whedon's Dollhouse. I think it would have thrown a real loop in everyone's head if Paul Ballard had an angel who showed up and looked exactly like him end up in the dollhouse for some reason. I don't know that it would work with the storyline plots, but I think Joss Whedon would do some magic with it. And considering the show dealt a lot with soul, spirit, the one, what it means to be human, I think it'd be an interesting season. Maybe season 7 that we never got.
Yeah, I think if we have any writers listening or watching,
Writers.
yeah, we definitely have some ideas thrown around here. Another question for everyone is from Lady Lizzie, and she wants to know if there was a supernatural movie and they asked you to be a part of it, would you do it?
No, never.
No, right?
Chad and I are doing a yoga retreat when they're doing that, so we're unavailable unless they pay us huge money.
Huge.
Okay, but that's a movie I would watch. Your
I
two
would put it
characters
on.
on a yoga retreat.
Of course.
Sign me up.
We got a copy. I'll start working on it now. When I
There you
finish,
You know, anytime I think that you can become a part of a fandom that is huge like this, I mean, I've been doing this for 20 years now, and there's very few shows that have such a big fandom like Supernatural. I mean, there's a couple other, like the 100 has it, Walking Dead. Like, there's very few shows though that have it. So anytime that you're invited back to be part of something like that, or even initially to be part of that, you take it with, you know, a big freaking smile on your face right away.
I'd be very surprised if they didn't make a film after this. The fans are going to demand it. After a lengthy career of being in a lot of different, fandoms, I can say with confidence the Supernatural one is one of the most loyal, and I use this term often, but rabid fan bases out there. They would demand that film. So if it happened, it would be a hit. It would be great.
Oh, I completely agree.
And
Another
it's so
question.
much better.
Oh, go ahead, Chad. Yeah. And you know what? Carrie and I will join you. It will be a great time. We'll all just jump in there. I have another question came in from a fan, Piseko, for Shoshana. She wants to know, or he wants to know, what do you think of the inclusion of Eileen in Supernatural has done for representation of deaf culture in TV and film, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think that more representation is better. Representation is a spectrum. It's very broad. There are so many different ways that you can fit into that spectrum, and I think that it is really cool that Eileen does show in a really different kind of way. I've never seen a deaf character portrayed that way before, and I think that a lot of people seeing deaf as a character, I mean, it being their character, like the character is deaf, or like I think we see deaf being the story. We don't really see it being who the character is and the character being a part of the story. I think it adds an extra layer, and it's hard to play if being deaf is just your story. I think anyone who has that minority experience, we see everything from a default perspective. Like, we see everything as the majority sees it. And if you tell the story often as the majority sees me, like as a woman, stories are often told as men see us. And I think that now we're getting into a really exciting time where there is a really big shift in that paradigm, and the paradigm is changing. And so now we're able to see characters as they see themselves. And I think that always adds something really exciting to the story. It adds something exciting to the character. And I really hope that this is a good model for how we can include representation for everyone. And whether they're disabled, if they're deaf, if they're a man, if they're transgender, something that's different from the norm. Because, at the end of the day, what is the norm? And the normal is just going to be different from your normal. I think it's really exciting. And that's what I really love about Supernatural and what they did for Eileen. They really portrayed her story.
Well
said. That's awesome. And we have a fan wrote in, Maddie_026. She said, Shoshana, you've inspired me so much and inspired me to actually learn sign language. So you're touching more than just fans of the show. It's very exciting to see. Okay, we have one more fun fan question, and then I have a couple that we worked up on our own over here. So if you could switch places with any of the other characters, so if you're a vampire to be an angel, who would you pick? Would you stay on the side of good if that's where you are, or would you want to play evil?
I love playing a villain. I think playing a villain is why I got into acting. My mom is weird, but she raised us, she was obsessed with horror films and stuff. So we never got no good night bedtime stories. She would shut off the lights and play Ghost with us. So I just was raised with the villains and just loved bad guys all the time. And it's just fun. So there's no way I'm switching ship. I'm gonna stay bad guy on this one.
That's awesome.
Funny, that's good. What is the question again specifically?
So if you could switch and be, and go to angel, from angel to demon, or even a supernatural monster, or be a hunter, what would you like to do as an actor?
I spent the first half of my career playing a lot of upstanding moral heroes, and then I really, really wanted to play more evil characters, some of the bad guys, and I talked about it a lot in the press and just kind of put it out to the universe. And then sure enough, I had a whole streak of a good 5-6 years of my career where I was suddenly playing the bad guys. And Chad is right. They're a blast. They're a lot of fun. So
you get to shoot the coolest guns. You get to drive the coolest cars.
Yeah. There could
be
a lot
that where life doesn't even get mad because it's work.
Fun, man. It's fun. I loved Mark Shepard's character in Supernatural. Mark Pellegrino is an amazing actor. I've followed his career since I can remember. I remember the first time I ever saw him work, and I was just like, wow, this guy's good. So yeah, I mean, either of those two would be fantastic.
That's awesome. Shoshana, would you stay a good guy, or would you want to get a little more villainy?
No, I've always wanted to be bad. I've always wanted to be bad. I think that in my life, I am a little bit bad. And so that would fit more of my character. There's more places you can go. It's more exciting. When you're good, you're a little bit limited by your goodness. And when you're bad, really, there's no limit. It's more fun.
It's kind of like ice cream. If you're a good guy, you're basically vanilla. If you're a bad guy, you've got the plethora of Ben and Jerry's at you. So
yes, exactly. Exactly. And I loved Rowena, that character, because she could go to so many different places. She got to go everywhere. She, got to pick any color, any flavor. She was never limited. She got to do whatever she wanted. I loved her because, she kind of started out as bad, and then she kind of became good because, people are never one thing. People are never just one thing. And it's not binary. I think that there is a lot to people, but when you're bad, you can show your good side more likely than if you're good. You can't really show your bad side. It's less possible that way. And so I really want to be bad.
That's awesome. And one of the other fan questions that they brought up was an animated series. And I don't know if you guys remember, Supernatural did the crossover with Scooby-Doo. So I wanted to know if you could pick any cartoon, maybe one that you liked when you were a kid or even still like now, to voice a character on, what would it be?
I've been a Garfield fan my entire life. The sarcasm that comes with that character fits me to a nine. So I Garfield, one out of the way.
I love it. With lasagna, I hope.
That's my favorite food. I mean, this guy is literally portraying me as a cat.
That's awesome.
And look, I even got my own little Odie. So where can we go?
Is his name Odie?
No, it's Willow, but we'll give him a character.
It's fine. Right, we'll write him in the cartoon. Perfect. And Tama, did you have a favorite cartoon that you would either like your character to be on, or you just would want to voice a character on?
I mean, I didn't have cable as a kid. I'm born, raised in Northern Canada. So I was a CBC kid, for those Canadians who know what I'm talking about, but it's like Public Broadcasting Corporation. So it's the one channel I had. So when I would go to friends' houses and see like all the cool cable, cartoons, I was just blown away. I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. One thing I did enjoy when I was a kid, like a lot of kids did from my generation, is Looney Tunes. It's a little over the top, a little dated now, some of it. Probably a lot of it not appropriate, but I used to really get enjoyment out of that. I would have loved to have played a character on that.
That would be just a great cartoon to cross over Supernatural in general, because they don't really talk and just have all of the characters running around and dropping things on each other. Exactly. Oh yeah, I'd absolutely watch it. What about you, Shoshana?
I didn't grow up in Northern Canada, unfortunately. I would have moved because it seems like everybody in America is moving to Canada. But my TV experience growing up was limited as well because there was not a lot of TV shows that were captioned. But I think one cartoon that was captioned was Gem.
Gem. I loved Gem.
I love that. They watch that. Yeah.
Yeah, I always wanted to be Gem with the colored hair. Yeah, and Hunter by day, rock star by night. What more could you ask for? And with that hair and the earrings, everything, that would have been great.
Well, hey, while we're in lockdown, I say you start your own Gem resurgence and dye that hair. I would love to see that. And one final question that we have coming in from the fans. Since you've all been part of other fandoms with Battlestar, The 100, The Flash, Grey's Anatomy, which has a huge following as well, what can you tell us about those fandoms and how unique they are to, different from Supernatural?
Well, if I were going to compare the Supernatural fandom to the Battlestar fandom, the thing about Battlestar, it's amazing how long it's been, but it's been 15 years now since the show started. So our first season, I think the miniseries was 15 years ago. Time flies, but social media was in its infancy. It was just starting out. There were chat rooms, but it wasn't common. It wasn't accessible to, your everyday person like it is now. We take it for granted. Everyone's in some way, most people are using social media. Whether it's Twitter or Instagram or Facebook or something, you're using some sort of platform. Back then, that wasn't the case. And I remember even hearing in the first season, people said, "Oh, you should hear what the fans are saying in the chat room." And I was like, "Really? The chat room's like, is it big? Is it significant? Like, how many fans are on there? Is it an accurate portrayal of like how our show is doing, or how they're accepting a character?" It was completely different. So it's changed a lot. It's changed a lot over the time.
Yeah, if I had to compare something, I mean, just recently with the 100. It's a crazy fandom, and but it's different from Supernatural. Whereas with the 100, you're just getting constant, like Timon was saying, with social media, it's just message after message after message. We love your character. Thank you so much. It's very supportive. Whereas Supernatural, I think the fandom, they take the characters so much to heart, and it's almost like they're living part of the show with them. And so if you're a bad guy, they almost treat you like a bad guy. If you're a good guy, they treat you like a good guy, but they welcome you into the family, and like you do these cons and stuff like that. And when you go to a Supernatural con, it is insane how much love and support and how many of these fans come. And it's full to nine. They're dressed up as your characters. They know the backstory of your character, of which we don't even get sometimes. So it's pretty crazy to be part of compared to other shows, for sure.
I think one of the best things about conventions, having done them now for close to 20 years, some fan groups might argue against this. No, I don't think they would. They would agree, but I think there's been a progression with a lot of them because, and I'm not a huge fan of social media. There are wonderful things about it, but there's also some major issues with it too. Especially how it's affecting children in a very negative way. But the progression, one thing that I've seen with fandoms in particular is how accepting they are. They're incredibly diverse. And when I go to a Supernatural convention and, even Battlestar conventions in different parts of the world, there's so much diversity there. And everyone, if you were to get into political speech, there would be some disagreement or what have you, but it's almost like that stuff is left at the door. It's like, what binds us? What is a common thread that we share? What are the passion? Obviously, the passion, the interest that we share together right now is supernatural when we're at this convention. And people put that other stuff aside, and they're there and they're accepting. And it's a place filled with a lot of love, man. You feel that more than any other sort of press I've done. If it's outside of genre, it's not quite the same thing with the fandoms. And I've always really appreciated that, man. It's a safe haven for a lot of different people who may not feel socially accepted or have difficulties in other public events and even society as a whole.
Oh, absolutely. Well said. It's a very fun experience and a very, like you guys said earlier, a family, and that's what it feels like as a fan and as part of press. Shoshana, can you talk about what the Grey's Anatomy fandom has been like, or even Jericho compared to Supernatural?
Yeah, I think Grey's is a little bit similar to my experience with Supernatural, because season 15 is when I went into Grey's, which is recently, right after I filmed Supernatural. That got done, and then I flew and went straight into Grey's. I knew whenever I was coming in, I kind of knew what I was coming into. I had a fan base with Jericho with season 1, and then going into a new show, with Jericho, we weren't sure if we were going to get picked up, if we would continue. And so Jericho, I think also came out right before social media. And so not until we canceled did I know that we had fans out there for Jericho. But then with Grey's and Supernatural, both already have a fan base, and very committed, very invested fans, which is nice. It's nice to see, especially in the world today, people believe in stories, and people believe in dynamics and character dynamics and relationships that characters have with each other. And that's nice to see. On Grey's, it's like real world medical, and Supernatural is different because it's not real world. And with Grey's, I play a deaf doctor, and there are a lot of fans who themselves are deaf or disabled, and they want to go into medical school, and they want to know about accessibility and masks. Right before the pandemic, we had realized that there was a mask that was made by a deaf person who's in the medical field, and they have clear screens on them so that deaf people can read lips. And so whenever I got onto Grey's, I asked if they could include these special masks. I thought that would be great. Whenever I had my first child, I freaked out. I was in the operating room, and I couldn't read anybody's lips, and it was a really scary experience. And at that time, I had wished for something different. So before I was going on to Grey's, I realized they had these masks with the clear screens, and I thought this would change people's lives. And so I asked Grey's if they could get them, and Grey's was wonderful in collaborating with me. They said, "We got you these masks." And then, of course, right after that, coronavirus hit, and there was a pandemic, and there was people all over the world who weren't able to get masks. And so they were able to send these masks to interpreters in Puerto Rico, and they were able to, connect people to getting the masks that they need. And it was cool to see that this story can change lives. And it's, yes, there's stories within you, and it's nice to see people that are like you and that care about a lot of things. And even though there's political division, like you said, shows can actually change people's lives. And that is the power of the platform that TV has. It's amazing. It's really amazing. And it was great to experience that.
That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing. I wasn't really aware of the masks, and I think that's a really cool addition to that. And before we wrap up, I just wanted to remind you guys of all the fans we have watching all over the world. So if you could, give a shout out to some of these awesome fans. I know that we said Wisconsin and Montreal. Let's see, where else?
Netherlands,
Australia, New York. I think it's like 3 a.m. in Australia. So
yeah,
good for you. Go to bed. Okay, and then one more thing. I know we mentioned it earlier. Don't forget to check out the memorabilia and amazing works of art from your favorite artists and vendors at wizardworldvault.com. And that's our virtual convention floor. And you can visit Facebook and wizardworldvirtual.com for more updates on future panels. And I just really want to thank you guys for coming on and chatting with me today, and for all the fans for joining in. It's been awesome to talk to you. really a bright spot in all of this is getting to connect with people about our favorite things. And one of my favorite things personally is always going to be supernatural. So thank you from me, and thank you from all of our fans. Just want to give it up for you guys one more time. So everyone watching, emojis, hearts, thumbs up, smiley faces for Shoshana, Chad, and Toma. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. My pleasure.
Love, guys. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, guys. Take
Thank
care.
you.
Well.